Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world. My name is Agnes van Rhijn. I am a life and business reinvention mentor at Success on Your Own Terms and the founder of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. Today, it is my absolute delight to be interviewing Lori-Ann Davis. Lori-Ann is a relationship specialist, an author, a speaker, and a radio host. She had to reinvent herself when her amazing 25-year marriage unfortunately ended after 28 years. She has now created another unstoppable relationship for herself and her children. Her work with singles came from this personal experience. Lori has a unique and passionate approach to love and relationships and believes that everyone deserves and can have the relationship of their dreams. Her mission is to provide her clients with the skills they need to have the unstoppable relationship they deserve. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, Lori. How are you?
Thank you. I am feeling very blessed to be here.
Wow. So tell us about your story. Tell us about how your journey unfolded.
Yes, well, I was married for 28 years. 25 of those were amazingly wonderful. I was married to my soulmate. We had a really great relationship. But even the best relationships, sometimes things happen and people grow in different directions. Sometimes we have things we are supposed to do that don't include each other. And that's what sort of happened with me. I think the hard part was coming to the understanding that it really was time for us to go our separate directions. That's nothing I ever thought would happen. And at first, it was very difficult. I hung on sort of kicking and screaming, thinking that somehow as a counselor, I could make everything okay. Finally had to come to terms with the fact that we were supposed to go our separate directions. We are co-parenting our children together. We are very good friends. We have still a really good relationship. We just aren't married anymore. And so through that, I think I really started looking after that relationship ended at what made it so great. 25 years is a long time. That's
Absolutely.
accomplishment. You could look at that as a failure, which I did not, or you could look at it as an accomplishment. So it started as a personal journey for myself. I wanted to replicate that. I knew that the relationship wouldn't be the same, but I knew that there were a lot of keys and key elements that made that relationship so good. And I wanted to be really clear about those because I wanted to do it again. And I also, of course, if you're a counselor and you're working with people, you're always looking for what can you learn, what can you do to help people even more. And so I sort of took both of those things, and that was where my book came from. It came from my looking at what really were the secrets to making my relationship great. What did I do with couples to help them that really worked the best? And I ended up putting that in a book.
So tell us more about that book. What is the name?
It's called Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships. My logo is two hearts with masks. And so that's where the unmasking secrets came from. Somebody said to me as I was going through this journey and I was sort of recreating, always been a counselor, but have never been in private practice by myself. I've been in private practice, in a group before. So creating a practice for myself was something new.
At what point in life did you do that, going on your own?
On my own, only a couple of years ago.
Okay.
So this part is new for me. A gentleman friend of mine, as I was going through all of this transition, said to me one day, he said, I'm going to call you Ms. Unstoppable. He said, because that's your attitude, so when I was thinking about what I wanted to kind of call my book and my program, I was like, you know what? It's Unstoppable Relationships. So I really like that. He says he's very happy that he gets credit for that term. I wrote this book called Unmasking Secrets to Unstoppable Relationships, and it was me wanting to really get down to what are the key things you need to do in a relationship to keep it strong. What are the things that I did? What are the things I needed to do again? And what are the things that when I started listening to people talking, they were not doing? And so
what would you say those things are? Would you like to share?
Yes, Sure. I have 4 secrets. I narrowed it down in the book. Tried to make things so that it was easy to understand, easy to read, and really steps that were easy to follow. Well, simple steps, I should say. Doing it isn't always so easy, but at least the understanding and knowing what to do, I wanted to make so that anybody could pick it up, read it, and start to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
The first one really is your mindset, your attitude. How you watching your thoughts that you think. And of course, it's more complicated than, the little 2 minutes I'm going to give you. But the basics is we can't control what happens in life, but we can control how we react to it.
Absolutely.
What we think about every day.
Mm-hmm.
So are you thinking about and noticing all of the things about your relationship and your partner that you don't like? We all can find things that we don't like. Or are you thinking and focusing on all of the things that are right, all of the things that you like? And that sounds very simple, but watch yourself. It really changes your feelings. It changes how you act towards your partner. So that is part of my first secret. At least that's a little tidbit to that, a little introduction to the first one. But it is about your mindset, about being a team, about being partners. The second one is men and women are very different. I'm sure you have noticed.
Oh, no.
No, not at all. We are. We think different.
No, of course.
Act different. We want different things from our relationships. But yet, nobody really teaches us that. And so I found that so many people didn't understand that. And that is really a key to, I run into so many people who are trying so hard in their relationships, but they're doing the wrong things and they're frustrated. The relationship's falling apart and it's because they just don't understand what to do. And after we talk, they go, oh, wow, I wasn't doing any of that. I was doing all these other things. Well, it wasn't what their partner needed or wanted. So that's my second secret, is really helping you to understand those differences between men and women and breaking it down in what can you do so that when you're putting forth effort in your relationship, you're successful. I want you to be successful.
If I may relate on that one, it's very funny because years ago when I was working in the corporate world, I was traveling extensively, and the same thing happened twice to me with a taxi driver, because usually from airport to town it's quite a long journey. We start talking, and it happened in Germany and in the UK that they told me in essence the same story. They were, because I'm ongoing talking to them, etc., and they were saying that quite often they would have women in their taxi telling their story, but in a complaining mode. There was something wrong. And both told me, but I didn't know what to tell her. I didn't know what to advise to give her. And I said, that's not what she's expecting from you. And that's a very good example of what you're just saying.
It's
perfect. Difference, how we perceive things differently, and well, they just needed to let it out. That's all they needed. Someone.
The women just want you to hear them.
Someone
want to fix it. So men are trying to figure out immediately how to fix it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's funny that taxi drivers, in both cases, would tell me the same.
Yes, because they're sitting there listening to people all day, so they are really frustrated with that. Yes.
Yeah. So the third secret.
It leads perfectly. You just led into it perfectly. Thank you. Has to do with communication and how do we problem solve when we need to? How do we resolve issues? And then I take that difference between men and women and discuss how do you utilize that in communication, because our communication styles are very different, and we need to be able to communicate with each other. That's very important. And the last one is the fun one. It's how do you keep that passion and that intimacy in your relationship? I would say that almost every couple that contacts me, if you ask them about the passion, the love, the intimacy in their relationship, there's an issue there. So that is very important in relationships. And I don't think we realize sometimes we think about it in terms of the bedroom, but we don't think in terms of how important physical connection, physical touch in different in all ways, how important that is to a relationship, not just in the bedroom, but how it affects every aspect of our relationship. those hormones, those bonding hormones that intimacy provide affect how we see our partner. They affect how we feel about them. It affects really how we communicate better. It affects every area of our relationship. And yet that is one of the first things that we quit making time for. And let go sometimes in our relationship. So I talk about how to bring that back. And for women especially, how to go from, it's one more thing I need to do. And so I don't want to do that, to really talking about why it's important for them, what they're going to get out of it. And I give a lot of suggestions about helping them to incorporate that in their life in a way that feels good for them, that they start looking forward.
And not an extra burden.
Yes. So those are some of the things the book talks about.
Good. So that's excellent. If we revert back to you making your dream come true, your reinvention, how you recreated a new life for yourself, tell us more about that.
Yes. So I became single after 28 years. Dating, really, I was in my, late 40s. I had 3 children. 2 of them were still young, which most people at that age don't have. So what do you do as a counselor? If you're all of a sudden faced with that, you start learning everything you can. So I just started immersing myself in reading all about how to choose a partner, how to be successful, how to date. Went out there when I was ready and was very successful. Met my next partner.
I'm not surprised.
We are now 4 years into a wonderful relationship. But what happened was, the universe does interesting things to you. All of a sudden, all these singles started appearing in my life. And they were starting to tell me stories about how frustrated they were. So very quickly, I could start to see why they were frustrated. And so a light bulb sort of went off, and I thought, because I was picking up a career, decided that, I needed to go back into private practice, but wanted to do it out of my home, wanted to do it internet-based. I have 2 young children that I'm still homeschooling. So I run my business out of my home while I homeschool them. I just sent them upstairs to clean their rooms while we're doing this interview. We'll go back to schoolwork when we finish, and then later today I will go in my office and see clients, on the phone. So I was working on all of this, and this light bulb went off, and I thought, singles, besides working with couples and individuals, singles I'm supposed to work with singles. I really felt that the universe had kind of come full circle for me, and that if I had gone through this experience, this was a chance to help all those other singles out there who were frustrated and unhappy. So now I have a continuum of people that I work with. I work with singles. I work with people who are going through or who are recovering from a divorce. I know exactly what that's like firsthand now. And also people that are married that aren't as happy as they would like to be. So it's just this perfect space for me. I really narrowed down who I was working with, because that's what I've lived recently. That's what I have the experience. As well as all of the knowledge, I also can tell people, and people like that. They connect with that. And then the singles, I run a singles group in Charlotte. I do singles classes. And people always ask me, well, are you married? And when I tell them very briefly my story, they say, you know what, now I have hope. And so I think that I'm supposed to give people hope.
Yeah,
that if I
that's inspiration. Good for you.
Yes, so can they. And then I can help walk them through the steps. Look, this works for me. It works with the people I work with. It works with clients. So it's tried and true for me. So that feels
you bought the t-shirt, and that gives them hope.
Yes, I did.
So in that journey, what would you say have been your biggest challenges?
My biggest challenge was, I think, and still is sometimes, I had to get over the idea that I had this vision of my life and my future and how it was going to go. I thought that my life was wonderful. I was strong. Everything was great, in part because of this marriage that I had. When that marriage left, at first, I felt that I had lost my stability. I had lost my strength.
Makes sense.
And what I realized was that I was the strength, and the strength was me. And it had been through the whole relationship, even so much more than I gave myself credit for. So that was difficult, though. When it first happened, it was, if it hadn't been for my children, I think I had to get up every day and keep going and stay positive because for them. If not, I think it would have been a longer journey through that healing. Mm-hmm. So they gave me sort of that motivation. But learning to tap into my own strength and realizing that I could do this alone by myself was difficult.
How did you do it?
I did it by watching my thoughts. And when I would feel myself going down and dragging myself down into predicting the future and not seeing that positive, and all that fear would come. And the fear was the future oriented. So I would have to stop and say, you know what, we're okay today. We're okay right now. We were okay yesterday. What makes me think we won't be okay tomorrow? And if I just keep moving forward, chances are we are, but you know what? I won't think about that right now. I'll just think about today. So when things were really tough, all I could do was think about today.
Live in the moment.
Yes, when they started getting better, I could go to the future a little. And now I'm very excited about the future.
Mm-hmm. Because it's no longer the unknown that scares you. I mean, that's the thing. When we are not feeling strong enough and being present in ourselves and in the moment, in the present, it's very difficult not to be afraid by this unknown thing that we have in front of us. Yeah.
And I still struggle some days with the enormity of everything I'm trying to accomplish. Homeschooling the children, building a new business, all the online things that I don't know about. I understand about helping people, but there's so much more to the business than just helping people. You have to get the clients. You have to do the webinars.
There's so much more to it, yeah.
There's so much more. So some days I do still struggle. I want to go in bed, pull the covers over my head and, just kind of shut the world out some days because there's a lot to balance. And some days I think, really, can I do all of this? And then I look back at how much I've accomplished already and where I am compared to where I was a couple of years ago. And then I don't want to go back to bed anymore. Then I get excited about what I'm doing. But I'll be honest with you and tell you that there are days when it feels overwhelming still.
Shall I give you a secret? Today was that day for me.
Was it? Okay.
I had this technology saying that everything I thought I had finished one level. There was not a layer that came in, and this never-ending story. And so I had some shopping to do that I did not do because I thought I will do that after the interview. Then it will avoid me to go to bed.
Okay.
But no, I know the feeling, definitely. Yeah. Well, we all have days like that.
We all have days,
whether it's that topic or another. We're just human beings, so
we are. And one of the things that I have learned helps me is as women, we are doing, and accomplishing sometimes so much, and that is masculine energy. That's that doing. We forget, and even I do, and I teach this and I talk about it so much, that we forget to tap into that feminine energy. That feminine energy is not doing. It is just being. That's our creative energy. That's our rejuvenating. And my guy Dave is so good when I get overwhelmed by just very gently sometimes saying to me, is the world going to fall apart if you just leave everything and you come sit down with me and come back to bed, let's watch a movie, let's just spend some time together. And he's very good about very gently, quietly saying that to me. And when he does, it sort of draws me back into that. You're right. I need to take some time. I need to just quit doing. I need to tap into that feminine energy, just be. Maybe I need to go for a walk with the children. Maybe I need to cook, which is, more creative for me. I need to do something quiet or spend time with him. And he is very good about that balance for me. And
in fact, he's holding that mirror in front of you. Hey, see what you're doing? At that moment, you can say, "Oh, yes, you're right. Thank you."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, the orientation that you're giving to so you set up your business a few years ago. You now have found your niche. That's what we love to call it. The people, your tribe, the people you love to work with. Is there anything special, any orientation or plans or goals that you're having for the future of your business? What do you have in mind?
Yes, definitely. I really want to expand beyond the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And so I want to take the classes that I'm teaching for singles in person, and want those classes to start being globally. So wanting to reach out there to people and say, I don't have to do the class local. I can do the class over the phone, online. And so one of my goals is to start getting more and more clients that don't live in my area. I have started doing speaking engagements and would really like to start traveling. I love to travel. I homeschool my children, and so I want to take them with me. So I want to get in women's conferences and start speaking more, not just in my local area, but I would love to travel and speak and be able to get the message out to larger groups of people. Women are frustrated. They're exhausted. They're exhausted in their relationships. They're exhausted in so many areas, and would love to talk to them about how to reconnect with that feminine energy that they have lost, how that's going to help them in business, how that's going to help them in their professional lives, as well as their personal lives. So those are some of the goals, to really get out there more.
Yeah, and it's really a message that we need to hear. One of the things that I'm covering in my program, which is a holistic approach, of course, we are first looking at who they are and what stands in the way and stuff like that, but we are looking at radical self-care, so putting them back at the center of the life. So that's what I call the relationship, the communication from them with themselves. And then I do move into them and others, because once we understand how fear is ruling us and how we communicate with ourselves, we start understanding how others function as well. And with that, we can be open to, less aggressivity, less defense, the other way around, etc. And I use in the corporate world to give communication trainings, where I was supposed to talk about business, of course, but I kept saying to them, the same applies to your personal life. Go and do the same with your husband or your wife. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And it is life-changing, absolutely.
It definitely is. Our relationships are the foundation of our lives. If we're not happy in our personal relationships, we take that into work. We're not as happy at work. We're just not as happy anywhere. And, I love the holistic approach. It affects our bodies, our health.
Everything, yeah.
It affects everything. So, yes. So really, I'm wanting to take this message of, for me, one of the keys is the masculine and feminine energy. Our roles have gotten so reversed, and we just aren't tapping into that like we could. And when I stand up in front of a group of men and women and I talk about this, the men all go, yeah, that's it, you're right. And the women go, oh, that's what I'm not doing. Or, oh, and it's not, they don't know. We're doing it because we don't know the alternative. We don't understand how to do it different. And for me, that there's lots of secrets, but that whole difference between men and women and that masculine and feminine energy, for me, has gotten so turned around in our society that I want to do my part for the rest of my life to really help us understand that and turn that around so that we're happier.
We end up being completely out of alignment because of that. We're disconnected to who we truly are as women. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And the men don't understand how to navigate relationships anymore because that's so out of balance. They sort of feel like they don't know what to do. So, when I give these talks, it's even when I'm talking about the things the women need to do, I will find at the end of those talks, the men come up and say, I want to work with you because you understand. You understand how I feel, and you understand, women and men.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy, I would say that my clients are pretty half split between men and women. I really enjoy working with both, but I feel this draw to really helping women to get that balance back. Women, I believe, can have everything.
Absolutely.
We haven't really learned how to do it, though. We sort of got pushed out there into the man's world and said, yes, let's compete. We can do it all. But nobody really talked to us about how to do it. And we're doing it in ways that are burning us out, that are causing exhaustion, fatigue, and are harming our relationships at home. And that doesn't have to be. So
fascinating. It does give a lot of hope. Absolutely perfect. So coming back to this notion of reinvention, because time stretches, obviously, if you were to give some pieces of advice to women who, for good or bad reasons, at some point are at crossroads, need to reinvent themselves, what would you say, other than live in the present and don't project yourself in the future all the time? What would you say? What would you recommend?
It is a time to really examine yourself and to go inward anytime you're at a crossroad, and kind of look at, instead of taking the same you and trying to move forward, stop for just a little bit and really examine what changes maybe do you need to make in yourself. It's the perfect time to look at, what do I love about myself? What's working? But maybe what are some things that aren't working so good? What are some areas of my life where if I got some help or read some self-help books or, did something to improve this area of my life just a little before I move forward, how much better is my life going to be, whether it's in the next career, the next relationship? I always say to people, if you get out of one relationship and you zip into another one, you're taking yourself with you. So why not take some time to figure out, even if the relationship ended and everybody would agree it was the other person's fault,
let's assume.
Yeah, he was abusive, he was whatever, and you can put all the blame on him. That's great, but let's still look at you and let's look at what could you still improve about yourself before you move forward, so that that next venture, whether it's business, relationship, whatever it is going to be on more solid foundation, and it's going to be even better. So I would say it is that time for reflection, and let's see how we can grow before we move forward. And then part of that reflection, I think, is being very clear about what's really important to you and what's not, so that when you move forward, you're making better choices maybe. Or it's a time just to look at and say, not that the last choice was wrong, but what's really important to me this go round. It's one of the things I help singles with, that I think is that they all say is in the classes is so beneficial. Everybody that's written a review of my classes said, I came out really having a much clearer understanding of what's important to me. And that's important before you start trying to move forward.
I love what you said, because I 300% can second it, because that's exactly what I have done 1.5 years ago when I left a toxic relationship. Would have been very easy to say it's his fault, etc.
Right.
But I really took that time to sit down, reflect, looked at my role in that, because you do play a role in it.
Yes,
And from there, from that place, reconsider all my choices in life and business. And that started, of course, with what is important to me, and what is important to me in my life and in my work. And I made some radical changes. Professionally, I completely shifted. I decided no longer to work with a corporate world, to work with business owners only. And that's how I decided on the personal side to move from France to London. So
wow.
I've exactly applied what you said. So I second it. It works.
It does.
It does. Absolutely. Yes.
It does work. If sometimes people will say, singles will start to talk about, there's no good people out there. There's nobody right for me. There's nobody. Part of that reason is they aren't clear about what they really truly need in a relationship. And honestly, it's a very small list. It's not this long list. And that's why they haven't found somebody. People will look at me sometimes and say, but your relationship is so great. Or I had somebody say to me, well, but you're very patient and you're very understanding. Well, yes, I am. But the reason I am is because I'm very, very clear about I had a very short list of what was really important in a relationship for me. And I have that. Well, there were a lot of wants, maybe even needs that I wasn't going to get filled in this relationship because Dave and I are very different. So this whole vision I had of, I was going to be with somebody and we were going to walk the beach together and hike together and garden together and all these things that I thought we could do together. Dave and I don't do any of those things together. We don't. I still do them, but I don't do them with him. Now I have discovered that there are things we do together that I never thought that I would do that I love. So I've added things to my life, but a lot of the list of, if I thought that I had to have those things, I'd probably still be looking. Instead, I have a wonderful man in my life because the core requirements, those values, the things that were really
the foundational ones.
Yes, we share those. And I picked him because we shared those, because we have a good connection. He's somebody that I really like and I enjoy spending my life with. Like I said, there's a lot of things we don't do together, and that's okay. So understanding really what's important and realizing that list is much shorter than you think it is.
Yeah, I'm in a mastermind where one of the women said really something similar. She said that when she had started dating, she had this list of, I don't remember what it was, but 15 criteria or whatever. It was a long list. Yes. And ultimately she had narrowed them down to 4 or 5. I don't remember exactly what she said, but points. And that once she was very clear about that, it all worked.
Yes, it opens it up for people to enter your life that you would have never looked at. Dave will even say to me that he's surprised that I chose him. He said, I reached out to you, and it was online. We met each other online dating. He said, I reached out, but I really didn't think that you would respond back. But I thought I would try because he didn't think that he was somebody that I would be interested. Honestly, I didn't think I would either, but I had put out there to the universe, asking the universe to bring a very special man into our life that was the right one. And I said, I'm going to be really open. Here are same thing. I had 4 or 5 criteria. Anything besides that, I'm willing to meet somebody. I'm willing to talk to them. I'm willing to get to know them a little bit and just see. And because of that, I very quickly found somebody. Where a lot of times people, if I'm doing a workshop and I'm talking to people, I ask them to write that list of what they're looking for. And then I tell them when they're finished to tear it in pieces, and I'll pass around a trash can and tell them to put it in the trash can. And I say, that's why you're single. Now let's talk about what to do. Because it is. That's why they're single. They're dismissing people way too soon before they really get to know them, I think, for many, 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 many people. So I have a Facebook page now that it's a community page.
So because we really need to shorten it now.
Yes.
These are typically topics we could go on for hours. So tell us, where can people find you? And tell us about your book again and the Facebook page. And
I will. They can find all of my social media on my website. So I'll give you that because it's really easy. It's my name. So it's Lori Ann Davis, LORIANN Davis.com. You can find my book, all my social media. And then something that I just started a week ago, actually, with another coach, something called the Open Heart Movement. And so if you type in Facebook, the Open Heart Movement is just a community page. We are giving all sorts of tidbits and we're going to post things on it. We really want people to connect because we want people to get out of their heads and not think about these lists as much and really open their hearts and be more open to love. So that's a community. And on that community, you can also see information about me and about him as well. But those are some areas that you can touch base with me. Send me emails, send me information. I love to connect.
Super, Lorianne, this was really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. It was a pleasure. And so for the listeners, if you too are interested in reinventing your life, you can book a reinvention consultation with me by going to my website, www.agnesvanrijn.com, and that is ANYESVANRHIJN.com. Goodbye to all of you and have a wonderful time. Bye.